Hey guys, this is Locke. Today I'm going to be doing a Kitone review. So to start, I want to give you a disclaimer that my Kitone is actually not at all leveled up. She is only level 35. Actually, well, level 30. Uh, but I actually wish that I had invested in her a lot earlier and that I've been using her all this time because I think she's a fantastic unit that has a lot of potential for some interesting combos and different ways to play her. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So because I don't have Kitone, I'm going to be using a different unit as a stand-in for Kitone so that I can show off some builds with in the formation screen with her. So Christmas Venera or Winter Venera is going to be my pretend Kitone so that I have all three equipment slots unlocked. So the first skill that I'm going to first build that I'm going to show you with Kitone is going to be her Drain Force build. So first of all, I'm just going to do a quick review on what the skill does, and we'll get right into it. So Drain Force is a skill that deals a percentage of your own maximum hit points, HP, as damage. So in this build, you want your Kitone to have a lot of damage. No, sorry, not a lot of damage. You want to have a lot of HP. You don't actually care about your attack value at all. So because you're not caring about your attack value, you can just build for like a pure defensive build. That would be the most efficient way to play a Drain Force Kitone. So you would want your Kitone to have a lot of defense, a lot of HP, and you can focus on other things like accuracy and um, agility. You don't care about your attack at all. So that's why if you look at my formation screen over here, uh, my pretend Kitone, she doesn't have a weapon. In the TMR slot, I was gonna put something like, say, this. So this could be a sample build of a Drain Force Kitone. As I mentioned, you don't really care about the attack value, so you can put one piece of gear that increases your defense, like the elf cloak that I'm using, one piece of gear that's increasing your spirit, like the TMR that I'm using, and one piece of gear that increases your dodge. Something else you can do, instead of dodge, you can put in like the Alexandrite ring, so you can increase your aim. So, for example, your build could look like this, and that last piece could be something that increases your defense, like that, or yeah, that's probably the most defensive item on the TMR list that I have. So you could do something like this. You don't need to look at her attack at all. So with the Drain Force build, you want to give her things like Man Eater. So you can, for the Esper choice, you can give her Odin, which has 25 Man Eater, or Golem, which gives you 10 Man Eater. The reason you want Man Eater on your Drain Force build is because Drain Force Man Eater actually increases Drain Force damage, whereas things like attack and like slash or whatever other attacking values that you typically put on offensive builds, they don't care for Drain Force, but your HP counts and Man Eater counts. So so the reason that Golem is good is because first of all he has a high HP pool, and secondly he has 15 Man Eater. Odin is good because he has 25 Man Eater. He has slightly lesser HP than Golem. And the reason I'm using the Odin VC again is because it increases Man Eater by 10. So this is one sample way that you can use Drain Force on Kitone. But there are some other interesting things you can do with Kitone. She has a skill called Utisemi, which increases your evade by 40 for one turn. So that leads to you can go very evadey with Kitone as well. So you can put her on a dodge team with two other dodgers. You can put 3 evade cards, and with Utisemi, she will have very high dodge, and you only need to really dodge for 1 or 2 turns before you are within the enemy's range to hit them. So, she'll work in dodge teams. She'll work as a Drain Force unit. Those are two. The reason I picked those two to talk about first is because they're kind of easier to explain. The other things that I'm going to talk about are more they need more explanation. So I wanted to get brain force out of the way. I wanted to get evade out of the way. So now we can go into some more interesting things that we can talk about with ketones. This is my fake ketone. So let me go to my actual ketone. Okay, this is my actual ketone. So um, something that is very good about ketone is her limit burst. So Seiya Shadowbind gives you a chance to inflict stop on the enemy. So typically, the chance to stop is much lower than this skill. If I'm using Agrius as a comparison, Agrius has a 25% chance to inflict stop. That 25% chance is depending on the on Agrius's faith and your opponent that you're attacking's faith. So both the faith values are included in the calculation. If both of you have 97 faith, when Agrius uses their stop attack, the chance to inflict stop is 48%. This skill has a much higher chance to inflict stop. It actually has 67% chance base. So if both you and the opponent has 97 faith, this skill will have 100% chance to inflict stop. So as you can see, this is a very powerful skill. Stop is a very powerful effect as well. I think the only thing that can remove stop in the game right now is Ayaka's limit burst. If there's anything that I missed, please let me know in the comments. It's possible that I might have missed something, but I believe that's the only thing right now in the game that can remove stop once it's been cast. Frederica's TMR, if you preemptively use Frederica's TMR, it nullifies stop for 3 turns, but I think Ayaka's limit burst is the only thing that removes stop once it's been cast. And of course, there are a bunch of units, like for example Gashala, that have stop resistance. But there are a lot more units that don't have any stop resistance than units that do. So I think this is a very good skill to have. So with that in mind, there are a few interesting things it can do. So this skill, where did it go? This skill requires 43 AP to cast. Since I don't have Kitone, maxed out, I don't know how much AP she typically starts with, but most units starts with 28 AP, and I'm going to assume that she has around 28 AP. So I will just say she has 26 AP, just because I hope she is more than that. But I think that's a good estimate to have. So if she has 26 AP, you can use some TMRs that give you a lot of AP. Like for example, you can use this TMR, Knight's Blessing, which gives you 42 AP. You can use Ayaka's TMR. Where did it go? This one, which also gives you 42. Sorry, it doesn't give you 42 AP. It gives you 21 AP. So AP is basically your TP skill divided by 2 is how much AP you get. So using, Ayaka's TMR or Marshari's TMR, you get 21 AP from that. The reason that I'm mentioning that is because if you use either of those skills first turn, on your second turn, Kitone now has enough AP to use her limit burst. And as I just mentioned, her limit burst is very powerful. So by having access to that on turn 2, if your opponent decides to engage you, you have a very long range attack that will most likely completely take that unit out of the game for a significant amount of time. So that is a very powerful skill to have. Some other things that you can do, if you look at her passives, she has, I'm going to say +1 move jump because I'm going to probably mispronounce how you say it. I think it's like Shukuchi, maybe, but I'm just going to say move and jump +1. So she starts with move 4. Let me just confirm that here. Yep, she starts with move 4, jump 3. So if you give her this this passive, she will have 5 movement. So with Utasemi, which I mentioned earlier, that gives you 40 evade, she can cover a lot of distance within the first 2 turns. So she can move 5 spaces, she can Utasemi, and most likely be able to dodge pretty well, and move 5 more spaces and attack. attack somebody. So, uh, so for example, something you can do, uh, regardless of whatever you know TMR that you have, Utasemi gives you AP of 12. So, um, so something you can do is on your first turn you can use some other skill, like maybe you have a TMR that increases your agility. For example, like you're using Lucia's TMR, so you increase your agility turn one, but you kind of stand still. Turn two, you run forward and you use Utasemi. So now, from both of those skills, you would have received 24 AP, which should give you enough AP to cast her LB, her limit burst. So from where she is, she can move another 5 spaces, and her limit burst has a range of 3. So you have an 8 range around her of where you can cast her limit burst, which is, as I keep mentioning over and over, it's very powerful. Um, One of her subclasses is Time Mage. Time Mage typically has Quicken and Haste, and there is a lot of play involved with double Quicken teams and single Quicken teams. Kitone is a Time Mage, but she does not have Quicken. Instead, she has Haste, like the other Time Mages, and she has Transposition. Transposition is also very interesting, and I think it works really good on Kitone simply because of her movement range. So what transposition does is that it switches the place with your with so Kitone basically switches her place with whoever transposition is being cast on. It also has a cast speed, so it'll take some time to cast. So something you can do, for example, is um, you can build Kitone to be the slowest of your team. So, for example, you can build a slow Kitone with Golem Esper. You don't give her any agility items. She will still have pretty high agility, but you try to make her agility as low as possible and have her go the last on your team. So, say you have somebody like Runestern who's going first on your team, he will buff his TMR or his Roar of Ruin or something that boosts his attack, and then he stands still. Uh, Kitone goes last, and if you can manage to find a build where Kitone will always go, after everybody else, um, you can you can start casting Transposition and move her up. And then when Transposition ends, she will switch place with Runestern, and Runestern will have now moved up 5 spaces thanks to the effect of Transposition. It actually could be more than 5 spaces. It could be up to 3 more from Transposition, so it could be up to 8 spaces. So Kitone could be, for example, 3 spaces in front of Runestern already, when she's and then moved up 5 more spaces. And Runestern, from the effect of Transposition, could have moved 8 spaces, and then he takes his turn, and he can move another 3 spaces and attack. So using Transposition, it's not the same effect as Quicken because the unit doesn't get a second turn, but you can use Transposition as like a teleport kind of, right? Because you're switching places with Kitone, and Kitone has a very high movement. Uh, she has a long range of movement, so it's it's one of the units that you can pull Transposition off with. Um, a lot of other units, like for example, Miranda. Miranda has Transposition, but most of the time there's very little benefit from using Transposition than Quicken. Uh, it's just how it is. But when I was using Miranda, I just found very little cases where I could have used Transposition and it would have made sense to use Transposition over Quicken. However, for Kitone, well, first of all, she doesn't even have Quicken, so that's not an option. But the Transposition plays lets you pull off a lot of interesting combos with Kitone if you're running her on Time Mage. Um, so we've talked about two of her classes, really, two of her subclasses. The first subclass, Soldier, is how you get access to Drain Force. So if you're running her on Soldier subclass, most likely you will want to be building her as a Drain Force user. You don't really care about attack, so you don't really need to be taking, like, say, self-sacrifice. you can take the move +1 jump +1 and Shadowrunner, which gives you increased agility and luck. So you can take turns faster and you have a bit more accuracy evade. Um, if you're running her as time mage, depending on what you want, like if you want to be pulling off these transposition plays and you want Kitone to go at the end, then you don't really want her to be going faster. So you wouldn't want to build Shadowrunner. You would want to go with move +1 jump +1 and speed casting. But if you're going as a time mage and you still want her to be taking turns, if you're planning something like you want her to be like really fast, like maybe you can build her to be 130 something agility. I think that's possible because I've heard somebody mention it before, but it's something that if you're gonna build that, you should double check to see how to do it, because I don't have Kitone built, but I'm definitely sure that you can at least build her to have 120 agility or something. So if you build her to have, and this is after like affinity bonuses. So if you build her to have very high agility, and you want her to go before anybody, and you want her transposition to go off before anybody else takes a turn. Like for example, say you have an improved Mediana bomb technique. So you can have Shadowrunner, and you will have Speedcast in this case. So what would happen is Kitone would start first. She would move. She would start casting transposition on Mediana, and she would move, say, 4 spaces, because you do not take the move +1 jump +1 skill. You would move up 4 spaces, and um, your transposition should cast before Mediana takes a turn. So it switches right away, and then Mediana, when her turn comes, she can move up 3 more spaces and cast her Cosmo Plume, right? So that would be like an improved version of Mediana bomb strategy. And it doesn't even have to be Mediana. It could be like any other user that would have enough AP to cast a significant damaging spell or skill on turn one. So, for example, you can do the same thing with Sakura. Typically, this would be like magic users, because they're the ones that start with high AP pool that would have access to these skills on turn one. But like it's something else you can do. So this is what I mean by Kitone is just somebody that you can build like in so many different ways, uh, and she's just so versatile. So that's why I wanted to do this review. Actually, somebody asked me if I can do a review on Kitone, because he wanted to hear my thoughts on her. But usually I would have declined, because I don't like doing reviews on units that I haven't played with myself, because I would be a lot more comfortable talking about the units that I played with and have a lot of experience with. But I don't see myself, you know, using her for a while, because I don't have all her shards yet. So that's why I thought I would do this review anyway, just to give out a few ideas for people to see. I've played against her many times. Uh, Thankfully, I haven't played against her too many times in class matches, because I think I would typically lose if I did. Especially when I was running like double gunners with Frederica and Nivlu, I did not see a single Kitone. If I had, I would again probably have lost that. So I hope it gives you some ideas. Just to quickly recap, I think Kitone can be built, as an efficient drain force user. I think Kitone would be really good as an evade user. Build up her dodge. I think you can build some really interesting combos and combinations with her time age subclass, using transposition and haste. I think you can build a lot of interesting combos based around her limit burst, because her limit burst is just so powerful, and she has such a huge range with the move 5. So those are four uh, you know totally different ways. You can even combine some of these ideas, but those are four different ways you can use Kitone. One way of combining the two ideas is, for example, you can have a Drain Force user that starts off by using her Limit Burst. So, because if you're using Drain Force, you would typically want Kitone to have Kiza's TMR, because Drain Force uses 20 AP, and you would want to keep using Drain Force many times, because that would pretty much be the only way you're doing damage. The other skills that Kitone has won't be doing a lot of damage. So what you would want Kitone to do on her first turn, you would want to use Kiza's TMR. On a second turn, you would probably want her to run up and use Utusemi. Uh, or if you are able to do something like pull off a quicken play with somebody else, you can move Kitone up, and you would want to start off by using her limit burst, because that would take one of your opponent's 3 units out of the game for a significant amount of time. Once you take that unit out of the game, by using the limit burst, then you can start using Drain Force. So your opponent will have 2 units to not only, like, basically to kill Kitone very quickly. Because if they don't kill Kitone, Drain Force absorbs the damage that you do. I probably failed to mention that earlier when I said, oh, this is a percentage of your HP. Yes, it deals a percentage of your health as damage, but it actually absorbs that health that it does. So that's why the skill is very powerful. Because if your opponent does not kill Kitone with his 2 units, your Kitone will just keep on, regaining her health. And you need to be, if they don't kill you, then it's game over for them, really, because your Kitone will just regain all the health back and it'll keep attacking. With Kiza's TMR, you'll be regaining all your not all, but you'll be regaining a lot of AP every turn, so it'll be very hard for them to kill you. That's probably why a lot of the Kitones that I see lately are Drain Force builds. But as I mentioned, that's not the only way to build Kitone. You can build her as full evade if you want. You can also build her as a time mage Kitone as well, and pull off, as I mentioned, like transposition plays, and plays using haste and transposition. I apologize that I keep getting my words mixed up sometimes. I'm still used to like talking when I'm doing these videos, so I hope that doesn't detract, or I hope I don't muddle my words up too much. I hope it's clear what I'm at least trying to say. But yeah, that's it. There are a lot of other people that have shared videos on how to build Kitone. These are the equipments you should use. These are the skills that she has, and my video is not exactly like that. I'm just giving you very high levels of ideas and like combinations you can use. So as I mentioned, this is how you would pull off a transposition play with the fast unit, with the slow unit, right? Not with the sorry. This is how you would pull off a transposition play with the fast Kitone or with the slow Kitone. Um, and then so those are the kind of things I like to talk about. I don't want to exactly repeat things that other people are saying. I think that there are better YouTubers out there that give you that kind of information. So this is my review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions about Kitone, please leave a comment, and I'll see if I can address your questions and comments. Thank you for your time. I hope you have enjoyed the video.